Welcome, Wildcards, and everybody to Fast Furious Fall Features number 3. We are joined amazingly by 3 super special guests tonight. We've got the amazing license creators, the guys who take on the big properties, the ones where we not only have to impress you guys as the fans of Savage Worlds, we got to impress the parent companies who own these amazing things, which is doubly hard work. So we owe these guys and girls more than normal on development. So first, and certainly not least, for the OG license, they're really cool. Wait for it. It's so good.
It's coming. It's coming.
Savior of the universe.
Mr. Scott Woodard, sir.
Hello,
welcome to the
everyone.
show.
Straight from Mongo.
Oh, so good. So good. I mean, if we can license anything that Queen was licensed for, that's just the coolest thing. Although we did not license Queen, so they're probably going to shut this video down. But whatevs, sorry. Fair use. It was less than 30 seconds.
There you go.
Stuff. Second, and certainly number 2 in no one's mind, let's do... That's super riffsy. Mr. Roberson. Welcome, Sean Roberson.
Thank you, sir.
And then had to dig a little for some Pathfinder soundtrack, but there is a really awesome game, and this is one of the tracks from that. So to introduce third and certainly least, because he's awesome and lost a bunch of weight, and that's cool, and I'm jealous. That one's called Mythic Power. And the man with the power, Mr. Mike Barbeau.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the show, sir. So I am lucky to be able to have all 3 of you gentlemen on, and because these are the big 3. Like, Pinnacle could be a Deadlands and then like licensed property company and do no other thing else, and people would lap it up like mad. But I'm glad to have you guys on for the licensee show. Let's start with Scott. Sir, what is the kind of big challenge of writing a licensed property? And even before that, like, what brought you to Flash? Like, what was it? The love of the original, of the comics? How did you approach Flash and then bring that to Peg as like something that Peg needed for their...
Well, you have to go back into the annals of time. I didn't say anals, by the way. We have to go. When I was a kid, I was a huge Flash Gordon fan. It went without saying. I mean, it was knowing that Flash Gordon had inspired Lucas, to create Star Wars. I mean, I don't know if you all know the backstory, but originally Lucas wanted to create Flash Gordon. He wanted to do a Flash Gordon movie, but that kind of all fell apart. And so I was a Flash Gordon fan from the earliest days. I used to watch those serials. I don't know when they aired. I think it was like a Sunday morning kind of a thing in syndication when I was growing up. So very much a part of my childhood. Then the animated series, the film, the comics, and everything else that came flying my way as I grew up. So, of course, when I had the opportunity, thank you, Shane, to actually write the game, I leapt at it. It was totally a dream come true. And that's pretty much how it all came together.
Nice. And so the second question I asked you, any particular challenges of writing for, was like you've written for home properties, and we'll get to that later because we are bringing out a very special Kickstarter that you wrote.
Right.
ETU, in the ETU universe, Pine Box Middle School. So we'll talk about that after we talk about Flash.
Also, remember, I did Six Gun first. So Six Gun was another licensed property, and that's a whole nother story. But in the case of Flash, the biggest challenge, is that what you were asking? The biggest challenge, of course, is 80-plus years of history that I had to completely saturate myself with for several months. Before I even wrote any game material whatsoever, it was just a matter of reading every strip I could get, reading novels, watching the serials again, listening to the radio serials, because when I went into that project, my whole plan was to write something that not only would appeal to Savage Worlds fans and gamers in general, and pulp sci-fi people, but also Flash Gordon fans. I really wanted a Flash Gordon fan who maybe loved the old serials or loved the 1980 movie to pick up that book and flip through it and say, he remembered to put that little thing in there. He has a nod in there to that thing. So that was the biggest challenge. How do I take 80 plus years of IP material and condense it into a rule book? Well, in this case, we did 2. But that was an enormous challenge. It took months to kind of codify all that, spreadsheets, multicolored spreadsheets galore, and so many notes, Chris. So yes, that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, no, I believe you, man. To me that just seems very scary. Like doing your own property is challenge enough, but like you are ultimately creative director. Whereas you have to do research when it's somebody. You have to know it. I mean, there's no excuse for missing out on a big part of the lore that you might have missed, or missing a vibe or a certain kind of part of the zeitgeist of whatever that property
Right.
is. So it's like a research project PhD thesis. Plus, you got to make it fun as a game, and then
Yeah, exactly.
also tack on rules and new. I mean, that just sounds like an amazing project.
I've got like a foot and a half worth of, if not 2 feet worth of Flash Gordon reference books and comics and things on my shelf to the left over here, and it was nice to be able to at least wrap up the game, more or less, and realize that I could actually talk to people as a Flash Gordon expert now. Really, it was 100% true. By the way, Zeitgeist, you dropped the word Zeitgeist. There was a Dynamite comic series called Flash Gordon Zeitgeist. So that's how this all weaves together.
So here's the cool thing. So one more question before
Yep.
I ask all the same stuff of the Roberson. What does it feel like now being part of the greater Flash Gordon thing? I mean, you are now cemented as a Flash Gordon creator.
Yeah.
That just seems really cool. I'm jealous.
Being able to get, connected to that, being able to get Sam Jones, who played Flash in the 1980 film, to do our foreword was sort of that really cemented us being part of the actual Flash Gordon zeitgeist. And also, I belong to several Flash Gordon social media accounts and Flash Gordon Facebook pages, and people come to me with questions now and ask me stuff and talk about the game and talk about the universe in general. And it's kind of amazing to have created something that, again, 80 plus years of not only material but also fandom, and to be respected for it. I haven't had one person come to me and say, "Hey, you did this wrong." The great little quick side story. The map that we created is based on an original map that was created by Al Williamson, who's one of the guys who did Flash, the comics, created by his wife. And we took that map, her original one, and expanded it in ways that had never been expanded before. It's still the core map with all of her destinations, but we added loads of things that came after that were, a canon, as well as stuff that we put into the role-playing game. So it is like the most comprehensive Flash Gordon map you will ever find, and that we're really, really proud of.
Wow, that's a cool legacy. I mean, that in 100 years, when people are doing the 120, 100, when did the Flash Gordon comics first come out?
1934.
34.
Early,
So wow.
Yep.
So for the 200th anniversary, which is the next big one, because we've already passed the 100th. Like the Scott Woodard map will be among the this is part of the storytelling, the universe. That's cool.
I'll be running the game for that anniversary.
You whippersnappers! I wonder if we'll
please.
actually have flying cars by then. I mean, everyone, the retro futurists thought we'd have flying cars by now, and we do not, sadly.
Chris, it's only 12 years from now.
Oh, God, it's already 20s. So I was watching Looper last night, and Looper is 10 years old. And I was like, excuse me, Looper, 10 years old? It feels like yesterday seeing that in the theater. And then I thought, I haven't been in a movie theater in like months. So, oh my God, COVID. Damn it, COVID.
Yep.
Man. So let's see. Second choice for your walk-on music was Mr. Roberson. Was just explosions, so I'm going to play those now because it's fun. Oh, God, people are going to hate this. I'm bored with me. But, I mean, riffs, explosions, stompy robots, ley lines, interdimensional portals, you name it. There's like in the system. But, yeah, same 3 questions to you. How did you first find your love of riffs? What was the challenge bringing that to, working on a licensed property? And, start there with those 2.
Yeah. Well, how did I find it? Well, I found it randomly. So my first role playing game that I played was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not that I played. I actually played the D&D Red Box with some buddies first, but the first one I owned and read and ran as a game master was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. And so that was by Palladium Books, and I got it, kind of get into the whole thing. Got into Ninjas and Super Spies, and then some Heroes Unlimited, and then I saw ads for this thing called Rifts, and I didn't know what it was. I saw that old picture of a robot smashing another robot's head in, and a coalition grunt standing next to a Mark V APC, and I didn't know what any of that meant. But I was like, I want it. I gotta have it. And so when it came out, I know a lot of guys say, "Oh, I saw the cover and grabbed it." No, I didn't even care it was on the cover. I wanted Rifts, and I went in and got it. And I actually got a pretty early copy. It was hard to get. I have a third printing, beat up old third printing, but that was like just a few months after it hit because it just blew away Kevin's expectations. Kevin Simbita, the creator. So that's how I got into Rifts, and I played all of my longest running campaigns have been Rifts that I've run. I also got into Robotech. And a lot of times I would use other stuff like Robotech or Heroes Unlimited as a palette cleanser, and then I would always come back to Rifts. And even after I went off and joined the military, and I came back, and my buddy was like, "Hey, will you run Rifts again?" But we had we had a lot less time than we did. We used to play all weekend, all summer, and so that's actually how I found Savage Worlds. Is we wanted to play some role playing games. My buddies asked about Rifts. I ended up running a post apocalyptic Savage Worlds, and then I had gone back to college using my GI Bill, and that's when the Rifts for Savage Worlds, the first edition of it, came out, and that's when I realized. Afterwards, I found out about it, and I realized, wow, now I can do this with Savage Worlds. And I ended up meeting Shane, and then I met Sean Fannin. And I'd gone back to school at the GI Bill. I was actually studying design and production for games and movies and stuff like that. And I was taking as many writing courses as I could, as many board game and tabletop game design classes as I could. And so it was a natural fit. And they asked me to send in, a sample adventure. They asked me to work on a book. They asked me, I was kind of the Rifts geek on the group of writers that was writing. And so they asked me to take over the art approvals and working with the art and all that. And next thing you know, it just kind of blew up from there. Yeah.
So not the 70 plus years of history of Savage, of Flash Gordon, but a considerable 70 books first material already.
Just 31 years, right? Yeah. No, there's like I think there's over 90 Rifts products for Palladium. Yeah. And in fact, I'm finishing up one right now. And I'm finishing up editing. We've already got some proofreading. It's already into proofreading and heading into layout soon. And that's Titan Robotics. So that'll be coming to Kickstarter very soon.
And that one's equal opportunity between Savage Worlds and Palladium, because it's mostly lore, right? It's like a big chunk of update.
It's a bunch of lore and equipment and things like that. It does have a new race that you can play as. You can play as secret androids named Syntheroids, called Syntheroids, that work for Titan Robotics. There's a new character class called the Dispatcher. And they both dispatch kill and dispatch teams. But yeah, and then there's over 30 suits of power armor and robots and stuff like that. So we're one of the things that we're doing with this is talk to Shane, talk to Kevin, and we're also going to be, anyone who backs this will get a copy of the Savage Worlds rules conversion for everything in the book. So I think that's going to be pretty smoking hot for a lot of people. And the other thing that's really nice is
a new Kickstarter, get one in there. We don't have to use one of our Kickstarter slots.
Right, because it helps that we'll have something to tide you over, right, while you wait for the next Savage Rifts Kickstarter. We're going to have this. And it's one of those things, it's like closing that gap, right? Do we need to catch up to 90 books of stuff? or are we going to try and make sure that Savage Worlds players can get in on it? Yeah, I'm really excited about Terror on the Dark Frontier as well as Land of a Thousand Islands, the South America book that are coming up. It's a great time to be a Rifts fan. So Titan Robotics, watch the newsletters and stuff. I'm actually prepping the Kickstarter material right now. So as soon as I have that down and nailed down, we will launch or we will announce the exact launch date for that Kickstarter. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love working on Rift stuff. So happy as a clam. For a lot of people, they probably already know, but also Kevin Simbita, the creator of Rifts and Palladium Books, has asked me to join him last year as his business partner and creative director. So now I'm wearing two hats, spinning plates, on both sides, but having a lot of fun. And it's great to be. It's like working in the candy store when you're a candy goblin.
Are you looking at me on that one? Yeah, right. So speaking of candy goblins, Mr. Barbeau, sir, same questions to you.
I feel like I'm getting the short end of the introduction stick every time.
Wait, is that a height joke? Are you? You're not a short dude. You're a tall dude.
I actually used this background for a live stream I did recently, and I got really lazy and didn't replace it before this stream, so that's why there's a goblin.
I don't have my Scorch in the corner anymore because I was like, we're gonna do an unboxing video, and I need somewhere that's a little less cluttered, and it's downstairs, and I just haven't. It's actually hard to move that thing around. It's like it's like this tall, and it doesn't go up and downstairs easily. So Scorch lives in the basement now, and sometimes when I'm down there at night and doing laundry, I scare myself. But hey, whatever. So how did you find your love of Pathfinder, sir? And then how did the whole Savage Pathfinder thing come about? Was that already on rails with Peg, and then they brought you on, or did you like how'd that magic?
Yeah, so I played D&D all the way back in the 3.0. Now, if we're going way far back, right? I played with my parents back with like AZ&D.
Wait, your parents were into RPGs?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. My first character was a half orc. It was a cleric fighter named this is I think an 8-year-old mind named Holy Fighter. And then my parents went, "What's his name though?" And I said Holy Fighter because obviously, So I got into it way back in the day, and it just stayed with me. And then when I moved to Utah, I was brand new to the area, didn't know anybody, and there was this nice guy named Pete. He worked at a local game store, and he did this for everybody, where you'd mention something, he'd be like, "Hey, there's a game in the basement on Saturday nights, come join it." And I showed up, and there was, I kid you not, like 16 people in the game group. Around this massive table. Yeah, like combat took forever, but a bunch of great people. And so my love for fantasy and that kind of thing continued. You're killing me, John. Continued from there. And then of course when Pathfinder came out, we jumped on that boat pretty hard because we enjoyed the mechanics, right, of the 3.5 system. And so we just, kept going from there. And I have been in touch with Shane for years. Back in the day, I was working on a game and I was, trying to license it out to different people, reached out to him. And Shane was very nice. He was like, "Hey, this is what I think, this kind of information here." And it didn't go too far, but as the years progressed and I refined my work, I eventually got to the point where I ran into him at a Gen Con actually, and I was showing him off the prototype I was running that year in the playtest exposure hall, right? And I had all of my 3D printed minis and my game board and all this other stuff. And so
you pulled the Carl Kiesler, you're like, "Look at the production value." Woo!
Yeah, essentially. And so I got to know him a bit more and Simon. And then one day, Simon, was side chatting with me about something. he's like, "Hey, you play Pathfinder, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started talking more and more about it. And they had already had stuff in the pipes, with Carl and with Chris Warner and a few other guys over there who had been, starting out with the Savage Pathfinder system. And I got pulled into that, and um, I just kind of went all in on it, I guess. whether
Cannonball!
whether it was throwing my opinions everywhere, or making a million spreadsheets and throwing all of my knowledge around the place. People, you'll never truly know how to work a spreadsheet until you work on a game like this, and you have to make like 40 of them to track everything and become a master at it. But yeah. So that's kind of how I got pulled in, and they kept me on, and here I am now.
Oh, goodness, all the goodness. The so let's see. Ooh, I had another. Oh, here we go. So I'm gonna go one more time around, and we'll talk about the most recent release from all of you from PEG before we talk about some other cool stuff. So to set the mood for Mongo.
Every moon of Mongo is a kingdom. My father keeps them fighting each other constantly. It's a really brilliant strategy.
Why don't they team up and overthrow him?
Team up? What does that mean?
Maybe I'll show you sometime.
Oh, I love it. It was so campy and so delicious, and the voice acting was great. So we've commented on the clip. Therefore, oh yes, and Queen is a really good band. So there we go. Someone in the chat was like, as long as you comment on it and it's commentary, we're good. So guess.
That's a really controversial opinion there, Landauer.
That's true. So, Mr. Woodard, so let's talk about Moons of Mongo. It's like the most recent release. What did the players find themselves doing? The people haven't picked it up yet. Why should they? All that good stuff.
I won't spoil anything, but just a little backstory real quick. When I first started working on the game, I put together a document for Shane that listed all of the potential future projects or products that we could do to tie in with the RPG. And one of them was the Moons of Mongo. There are several others on there. But anyway, that one was already on my radar way back. And the interesting thing, of course, is the film goes off in really wild tangents and makes moons equate to kingdoms, which we'll just ignore that. There was no way I could make that work in the game. But there are two Moons of Mongo that do appear in the 1950s comics, and that's Exila and Lunita. And I read those strips. I had to track them down because they're actually not that easy to find, and read them and realized we could do something with this. And so what I wanted to do was 2 adventures plus essentially a source book so people can kind of go and do their own thing. And it's set on the 2 independent moons, 2 separate adventures, one of which I wanted to do as more of a mystery with sort of a cityscape where people can kind of go around and explore and get clues and do something that really we hadn't done in the Flash Gordon stuff. Most of the Flash Gordon stuff prior had been ray guns and rocket ships. And this one I really wanted to be sort of ground level. And then the second adventure, I did something ridiculous, and I essentially wanted to turn it more or less into a hex crawl, which is not something we do very often either with a lot of Savage Worlds products. So I kind of created this whole landscape and dropped a few little mini civilizations out there that they can go and explore, threw in a whole bunch of encounter tables and kind of had fun with that. So 2 radically different settings. One is a little bit more sophisticated with mines and a high-end city and industry, and the other one is a little bit more wild. So there's a couple new choices for people to take their adventures on. And that's what we do with Moons. But of course, we also included, the awesome selection of cardstock punch-out characters, which made me a very happy boy because finally I could have some really easy portable miniatures to bring to my game table. And what was really exciting for me, of course, was that we got to have artists come in and create characters that were new to the game and new to the Moons of Mongo setting. So you kind of get everything in one kit in that box. So yeah, that's Moons of Mongo. I'm very, very proud of that set.
Yeah, we had a good question, and I can actually, I think, I give a little light on this one. So Daniel Atson asks, are there plans for more Flash Gordon material to come after the release? We just had one's Mongo. So here's one little tidbit. So the interesting thing about these licensed properties is you only get a window, and they don't guarantee whether you can continue or not. So we actually had to put in a special request for an extension to get Moons of Mongo. So I think currently it's maybe is the best answer we can give you because the license is not guaranteed, and big Hollywood players will kind of come in after licenses are done and want to do all of the media and then buy all the stuff like that. And Flash is definitely one of those properties that might see some cool stuff in the future. So yeah, we might not be able to have the license again. So we really, for Moons, we definitely need the pawns, right? Like this setting with Scott's work is great, especially in the original. Like I think the original cover, the Aaron Riley with the two factions,
love it.
I think that's our best cover in anything we've done. And certainly, if we didn't have Flash, we never would have gotten Rifts, right? I mean, that's like one of the big things. Like we can do this, people. We can bring other properties and do them well, just in Seventh Worlds. But so it's the maybe the best answer we can give you is it might not be available for us to extend or rebuy. When it comes, but so a question for that: if you were going to go somewhere else in the Mongoverse, where else would you want to write for if there was another property?
Earth.
Oh,
yeah. There's a whole stretch of the original comics that have Flash turning to Earth, and it's a very different parallel world than what we're used to. There's sort of a World War II. There's sort of a, big dictator behind everything. Flash brings technology from Mongo and starts augmenting our planes and ships using Mongolian technology. There's so much to do with that. And when I first started kicking those ideas around very early on, my first thought was, I want Teller involved with this stuff.
So I'm not very familiar with Flash Gordon. I want to tell you what made me immediately interested. He basically said, if you could go anywhere with it, where would you go? And you said Earth. And immediately I'm like, wait, why would you go to Earth? Okay, what's up with Earth? Right. Mm-hmm. And so that right there, you immediately had me curious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of potential there to, it also can be a Weird Wars setting. It'd be essentially sort of a Weird Wars 2 crossover event. So that's really something that was on my radar. There was another one that I had, which was going to be just beyond, like going beyond Mongo into other planets, because that is something that the 50s go bonkers with, where Flash starts taking his galactic patrol ship out into the deep space and finding other worlds. That's something we could do, but that's unlimited. I mean, there's no telling where that could go. But I thought doing a Flash Gordon on Earth would be a really fun way to sort of bring things home, so to speak.
Yeah, right. Like Mike said, it's really kind of crazy that Earth would be new and fresh because it's not our Earth. It's the in the Flash universe Earth and what's going on there. And that'd be awesome. That sounds amazing. So the original Flash is not in Sway. There is a free several page. It's actually pretty easy to convert. But Moons of Mongo is. So if you pick up Moons of Mongo, it's basically all the stuff you need to run the old one too. So pick up both, and you got what you need.
And Moons of Mongo also has all updated archetypes from the original game as well. So if you want to just throw some pre-gens down on the table for your game, you can use those, and they are all Swayed compatible.
Right, and thanks, Robin. Robin's got the link that you need to get the goods. I love our audience; they're amazing. Okay, so Sir Roberson. So here's the deal. So I was saying Roberson, and then someone behind the scenes told me it's Roberson. And it's not. No. It's Roberson. Okay.
That's what my family says. I've met Robersons. That's not my family. In fact, that was one of the weird ways that my dad was really good at this. If we ran into somebody that was named Roberson, he within 5 minutes of chatting, he could figure out which cousin or uncle or great aunt connected the families, right? So it's kind of an interesting thing. But no, that's what my family says. It's like Robertson. There's the Robertson clan in Scotland, and then Roberson is a sept of the Robertson clan. So it's pronounced the same way, just no T.
Okay, good. So I'm going to have a complex about this forever, though, because now my brain is rewired. Like someone scolded me for it, and I was like, okay. So now that we've got that, Robertson is it. We're good. We're good.
If I ever get a name change, it'll be to Bestiary. That way, if anyone ever questions how it's actually pronounced, I can tell them.
Well, so for you, sir, my complex with you is whether or not there's a silent X on the end of your name or not. Whenever I'm typing, like sometimes I put it, sometimes I don't. I got to go back and delete it. So it's like how francophoned, francophilic, whatever your last name is, like whether there's the X or not. So
Don't get me started with Woodward, because that's the one that plagues me
oh, that would be obnoxious.
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Can't make our names easy to spell. They've got to be difficult.
No, it's true. It's true. I
If I
got
was king of
log.
America, we'd have a phonetic alphabet, but whatever.
I mean, English is barely a language as it is. It's like it's more like everyone. What's that Christmas dish? Fruitcake? Isn't fruitcake the one people don't like it and they keep passing it on?
Right.
There's only like 7 of them
Right.
actually in the world, but they keep getting handed out. Like English is kind of a language that's like that. It collects weird, odd bits of stuff and just yeah. There we go. Yes. I'm not gonna pronounce your name, sir, because Makachaka. Oh, that wasn't that bad. There we go. There we go. See, every once in a while. But tell us this is good because we've actually fulfilled in the age of COVID one of the last Kickstarters we have entirely fulfilled, allowing us to run another one was Atlantis. So tell us, sir, what was the fun that was in Atlantis, and then we'll get to the upcoming next stuff too.
So just to throw this out there, one of the things that we looked at, me and the rest of the development team, when we were working on the first 3 Rifts World books, is Scott, we looked a lot at what you did with Moons and Mongo and how you had each section of the world, you'd go through the history and background, and then you'd have like the denizens of the region and any enemies and police and military and other tech. And I thought that was a really cool approach. And so I actually totally 100% use that with using sort of the Palladium has its own world building shtick, right? And so use those pieces, but that similar approach in Atlantis and the Demon Seas. And so that is the Atlantis behind me on my virtual green screen. But that is the latest Kickstarter that we have delivered through trial and travail with all of the logistics issues with COVID. I hope everyone checks it out. I hear lots of good things about it. I had a lot of fun writing it. And I know that a lot of people really enjoy Atlantis in the Rifts universe. That is one of those places where when I picked up that book and read it, it just blew my mind, right? Vampire Kingdoms, the original Rifts books, those were already out there, but Atlantis was just almost a fever dream of the alien and bizarre and the weird. And it all worked in some sort of weird demon run evil society. It was great with true Atlanteans, inheritors of Greek and Atlantis trying to fight and take back control. Really great stuff. It was a game changer for a lot of people. One of the things that everyone's had a really great time with is the new pawn sets. I have 3 now. I need one more. I think I need one more. One of the great things about the pawn sets is we have a wide breadth of different things. A lot of this is playing catch up with a lot of the art. We commissioned a lot of new art. We also are playing catch up using a lot of the art from the original 3 world books, the original 3 core books, Game Master's Handbook, Savage Foes of North America, which is a bestiary, and then the Tomorrow Legion Player's Guide, and it also has art from the original 3 world books. Arcana and Mysticism, Blood and Banes, Empires of Humanity, which I wrote that one. And it has Atlantis stuff. Another one of the big fan favorites with that. But one of the things I'll say with that is that usually the squads are like 3 to 5. We'll have 3 to 5 of your more common enemies, including coalition squads with rocket launchers and a plasma rifle, stuff like that. A squad leader. So that's one of the things that is great is if you buy more sets, you can go from 5 Skelelots or 5 Zytikic warriors to 10, and then 3 sets, 15, 4 sets, right? 20. So thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. I worked really hard with Kevin and the art team to try and really dial in the feeling and the narrative on these products. Just like so a lot of people may or may not know, I was not the part of the original design team that converted Rifts to the Savage World setting, but I came in as the line developer when it was being updated to the Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. So I worked on the second edition of Rifts for Savage Worlds. So yeah, that's one of the cool things is that you know, I got a chance to really get my fingers in all the mess and work with great artists and Kevin to bring in this great pawn set. I suggest it for Palladium Books rules players as well. And then one of the other things that people have really loved from this set is the archetype dossiers. And we have all of the original heroic archetypes, like, say, the Cyber Knight. On the back, you've got a lot of cool background material for the character. And then inside, it unfolds to have all the goodies you need to run them. But a lot of people are saying they love it because you can use these at conventions. You can also use them, you know, rename them or not, reskin them if you want, for NPCs as well. Or if someone just comes in and needs a character to play for the night. But they've been, some people have said that they're a sleeper hit for the box set. We also have an amazing Atlantis map. On one side, it has the outside of an Atlantean temple, the Magic Stone Pyramids, or not a temple, but a Magic Stone Pyramid. And then inside, you flip it over, it has the interior map, according to the lore, for all the teleportation chambers, the healing chambers, and stuff like that. So a lot of fans have really, really enjoyed that. Didn't even realize what they were getting when they got that. And then the other big map in the map set is ruins. So one side is a city ruins that is pretty much just ruined, old junky stuff everywhere, and the other side is one that's been sort of reclaimed with some habitats and lean-tos and stuff like that. But I think that all of them are really nicely spaced out as well for running tactical battles with your pawn sets.
Those pawn sets put Peg through the paces, because it's like, okay, I need a dragon, I need a stompy robot that's this big, a stompy robot that's this big, and a stompy robot that's this big.
So right, so our pawn wizards did an amazing job. Jess, she really deserves the credit. She went through and exhaustively went through and looked at the size of each creature entry. I would list those, and she would, you know, adjust them for size. Then we'd look at them and be like, well, this guy's kind of leaping. Maybe he's actually a little, you know, and so sometimes you have to make these little adjustments. But the neat thing is you put it on the table, it looks real solid. And the other thing I'll say is it's really great to mix with the Deadlands pawn set and maps, because those fit the Rifts New West really well. Really, really well. So I've been mixing and matching a lot of that as well. And it's a lot of fun to do that. But yeah, that's the newest release. Yeah, it's on the Pinnacle store. Go grab it now.
Yeah. So leading off of that question, Sean wants to know when the next one is. So that's an easy answer. Q1 next year. We don't have a date yet. We have to, you know, beg for another slot from Kickstarter. So we've got a lot of books. So that's kind of thing. It's like the manuscript looks fantastic. It is the both products. It's like it's going to be a twofer. So Peg's next Kickstarter is this month in October. Mere days away. We're going to do the Horror Companion and Pine Box Middle School, which we're going to ask Scott about momentarily. But then we've got a bunch of Kickstarters waiting to go that we literally have to deliver the last Kickstarters. And then there's like 4 that were like, we just need to give you the books. So those are coming in. We've got a shipment that just arrived in, I think it's the Super Powers Companion is in our warehouse.
Good. Great.
It's in the warehouse. I put up pictures, legit, not even just take my word for it. We have photos of the boxes on pallets. And so when that one first reaches people, and that's a game changer. So it doesn't help us in Kickstarter. But then we've got Holler coming in and Hell on the High Plains coming in. And those two were both Kickstarters. So that'll open up 2 Kickstarter slots for us that we can then start doing more stuff. So Q1 for sure. That's going to be 2 big ones. Again, because it's like we found out that with the natural delays from the crazy COVID shipping and stuff like that, that it's better if we don't wait 3 months between 2 things that you're probably going to want together. So we're going to do Terror in the Dark Frontier and Land of a Thousand Islands. So tell us what those 2 products are. And
and those will also come with the pawn set 2, which is going to have material for South America, and it's going to backfill a lot of the stuff that was missing from the previous release of books, including Savage Foes of North America, a lot of the vampires type stuff. So I think that people are really going to enjoy that. So yeah, we've got Terror on the Dark Frontier is the first boxed adventure campaign set for Rifts ever. Whether Palladium's never done a box set for an adventure campaign. So we're really, Kevin and I are really excited. Shane's really excited. I think that it's after I wrote some of it, but a lot of it was written. It was originally. The idea originally was much smaller, and it just kept growing. And so we brought in more writers to add in more stuff. I kind of wrote this crazy adventure that was like, if you just teleported to the end of Ghostbusters when they're fighting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and Gozer, and it was just too much. I was like, wow, this is it. I went a little hard with that, and so we took another adventure I written and kind of bookended it. And then a lot of great writers came in and had some material that one had some material that already was going to fit that theme. And then we had others come in and we tweaked it all to fit together really nicely. And the playtest feedback has been super positive. My editing pass on it has been super positive. And then the art is looking, I mean, each time the art gets better, and I think people are really going to get their socks knocked off checking this one out. So, what's the Riff's question? Since playing with you guys, I have created a hindrance called Extremely Edible that I give to endangered species.
Oh, Alan,
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Unfortunately, you taste really good. Yeah, lots of cannibals want to eat you. No, Terror on the Dark Frontier, I think people are going to really enjoy it. The other thing is it's not just a long, extensive plot point campaign, which it is, but it also has broken up that region of the new frontier or the coalition frontier, where you have Fort Comanche, the Comanche Preserve. So you've got the Comanche, you've got the coalition, you've got Simvan tribes, they're cannibalistic alien DBs, and then you've got lizard men that ride animals. There's Simvan monster riders. You've got Psy Stalkers. You have refugees flowing through the region. So the Tomorrow Legion is going in and trying to keep the peace as something new and dark is starting to head across the plains. And so it has more of a, this is preview of the cover portion of the cover.
I know Aaron Riley's hard to rope in anymore, and oh my God,
I know he's really tough to get him in, but he did a really bang up job. And so we really are excited though, because you can also just explore the different areas, the different regions of the frontier as well. You don't have to play through the plot point campaign, or you can take your time and do other things. And there's also a lot of player options, like wired gunslingers and mining borgs and things like that. So, and then a lot of that ties into, there's also, for instance, preachers. So that ties into South America, though, where we're going to have the rules for building priests of any kind. The main focus in that book originally is the Incans, but you can do whatever you need to do there. We're also having we have the rules for the demigod, the anti-monster, the Amazon warrior. So there's a lot of, amongst more and more and more, there's a lot of really cool stuff that is also coming in the Land of a Thousand Islands, including biomancy. So the biomancy magic that I fit in, biowizardry, and the tattoo magic and stone magic, but I couldn't quite fit all the biomancy as well into Atlantis and the Demon Seed. So the full biomancy, the full Monty there is going to be in here. Another thing that I think is really exciting is in the Savage Rifts stuff. It's set in 109 PA. When they originally started printing, Palladium started printing Rifts, it was a 101 PA, 101 years post-apocalyptic. New calendar, right? And so time was marching forward. Well, the South America books 1 and 2 were written towards the beginning of that timeline in 102, 103 PA, and they said this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. Well, now Kevin and I sat down, we fleshed it all out. There's huge lore updates that are in A Land of a Thousand Islands, and they're canon. So I think this is going to be one of those times where for a first with Savage Rifts is it's breaking a lot of new ground. That's also part of the settings canon. So I think that's really exciting as well.
So that's the same question I asked Scott about. What does it feel like that now literally are being able to write canon for this system that you played growing up? Like, how cool is that?
It's mind-bending for me, especially being part of Palladium Books and being Kevin's business partner. That's insane and really, really awesome and rewarding. I've really was so happy just to work with, Shane and Simon and everyone else, Jody and Clint and Scott and everybody at Pinnacle, and then to get the opportunity to join Kevin at Palladium has been just a dream come true. So that's been awesome. It is very different writing new material and lore, but I guess people will see if the proof's in the pudding when Titan Robotics comes out. But so far, when Kevin read through the first chapter, he was making noises from his office about how happy he was with it. So so far it looks really good. People have really enjoyed the snippets they've gotten to see. It really is great. It's neat to kind of carry that torch forward and add some of my, whether it's just like, for instance, like Scott worked so hard on those maps, right? Well, we've got some really great maps for Savage Rifts as well, that it's just cool to add to that catalog of knowledge and breadth and go deep diving into, I just took information from 30 books to work on this manuscript,
So, question to you, Mike, then is I want to talk about Crimson and the APG, but the cool bit is that because you're so awesome, the lovely people at Paizo have opened up the door for you to write new material for Pathfinder, which is amazing. We never thought that would be possible or on the table, and now it is. So you will be writing canon for Pathfinder, which is super jealous awesomeness. Any ideas on where you might first start with that, sir?
So we're definitely starting very simple with them, right? With what we're allowed, we're doing the one sheets, and so to begin with, at the very least, we're not going to do anything major, but. I think I might have talked about this before. My goal is to hit some of the cool, iconic Pathfinder locales and tie in a lot of the class edges that might be super popular there. There's so much going on across Galarian. Whether you're in the River Kingdoms or, you're down in Chelix or, wherever you're at, there's so much going on. There's, ancient Egypt areas that you can go to. I saw this map somebody doodled up where they basically make jokes about every area on the map, and there's some hilarious ones that they do, just quick riffing on it. But yeah, I just want to find an area, do something cool with it, grab a prestige edge or a core class edge, and basically give some good hooks for the players to go in, play some adventure in that area, give the GM a little bit of more work to go in and flush out a little bit more himself, but give something epic, hopefully, to start with. And then, who knows, right? Like, I think, I would love to write a full adventure path. And, hopefully this kind of thing will build really good rapport and strength and, maybe lead to, a full-on plot point campaign one day. But we're gonna take it serious, and we're gonna take it slow, and hopefully everybody who's hungry for something new will be able to either incorporate these one sheets into existing adventures or oh, you're a monster. Oh, you timed that really well, Landauer.
So I'll let you off the hook. John, we're not doing Kingmaker next. And next is an important word, but we had the option to, right? It was like Pathfinder Paizo is really pushing Kingmaker now. They're redoing it for their new edition and all that good stuff. And we figured, like, do we want to jump on the coattails here? And I think the answer is no, because if you want more Kingmaker, go buy the new Pathfinder one. They're doing an amazing job with it. We're not competing with Paizo on this. This is totally a symbiotic, cool relationship. And we thought, I think when we do Kingmaker or F1 and F whatever, we don't want to get it lost in the tumble of oh my god, there's a brand new update for it. And and Paizo is totally happy if we did Kingmaker next too. But I think Mike's got other plans that might be a little more meaty.
So yeah, first of all, let me say when it comes to adventure paths, nobody takes it lightly. When we talked about doing the Kingmaker next, or do we continue down the same path that we've been doing, with Rise and then Curse? We asked a lot of questions, right? Like, especially like you're saying right now, where Kingmaker's out for Pathfinder for Paizo, is there an overload of it, or do people simply want more of it? Right? Where are we at? And then more importantly, there was also the Kingmaker video game, right? And so are people wanting the video game version of Kingmaker, or are they wanting the OG Pathfinder version of Kingmaker, or do they want the new one? So there's a lot going into it, and there was a lot of questions up in the air. With the caveat of things can always change, the next two things on my Pathfinder block are a second bestiary. Everybody wants more monsters. I want more monsters.
That means more pawns too. Oh my god, so many more pawns.
Well, and then you can put those monsters in adventures.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like the villain codex, the NPC codex. There's tons of stuff out there to put in a bestiary. There's stuff from the very first bestiary that we couldn't fit in just because, I mean, it was already so chonky. And then, of course, I want to do another player's book. Now, it's not necessarily an advanced player's book. It's not like the Unearthed Arcana or the Complete Arcane or the Ultimate Magic or anything like that. I do want to grab a few of...
oh my god, you can watch him get redder. Look at that. Look at the color shift, people.
I shouldn't be against a green background. But I want to make sure we have things like the Gunslinger. I know people are really wanting to see.
It's so popular.
The Magus is another one that people really want to do. And, they're ones that I wanted to do in the past, right? When we started up the Advanced Player's Guide, I'll be honest, it broke my heart every time we were like, hey, we're revealing this new thing. And somebody would be like, Magus, Gunslinger. And I'm just like, oh, it's not it. And I want, as writers, I think we all want to like make people happy, right? Give them cool stuff that they want. But there's limited time, limited space, and limited playtesting time, especially. And so,
well, and especially could be, I'll chime in here, is I think in original Pathfinder, those splat books sometimes broke the characters. I mean, like the new characters were wholly better than some previous classes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that with Savage Worlds, just the way our system works.
Never happens in any games.
And there was interesting arcs, like, to get super nerdy for a second, right? To explain like how some of these would work is Rob and I have a story for you if you like peasantry games. But no, like, so the Magus, for example, if nobody has played it, you would start out okay, but then you would hit really overpowered by about 7th or 8th level, especially if you took the right traits, and you're way out damaging your other players if you're doing one combat, maybe 2 a night. By 10th level or 13th level, you're on this heavy downward arc now, because all the spells that you can use were like 1st level, 2nd level, 3rd level spells. And so the problem you would run into is not everybody plays campaigns that go from 1st level to 20th level. And so all you see are these like, high powered, low level Maguses that make nobody else have fun, because the one player is killing everything in combat. And I've played Maguses, right? Like, I'm speaking from experience. I've done this to people. And so, again, we want to make sure not to do that. We need to rebalance, and we need to pay attention to the changes that need to happen from a 1 through 20 crunchy game to Savage Worlds. There are people who asked about the Curse of the Crimson Throne traits that you got, but they were all like +1 or -1 abilities, right? So you'd get like +1 to craft woodworking, which is great in a game where you're, playing with all these, really small +1s. But while I kept them as hooks, because I thought they were brilliant for hooks to get you into the campaign, you can't really incorporate that without making it blown up way more for an edge all on its own. And so, there's a lot of stuff we have to pay attention to, whether it's fluff or whether it's like new core book stuff of what do we need to rein in. And it's also why we're not going to do everything out of the complete fighter or the ultimate magic, right? We're going to grab the stuff that really fits. We're going to leave behind the things that doesn't quite work or that breaks it a little too much, and hopefully bring everything that people want and love, while keeping it, in line with everything else.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good answers, sir. So before we spoil a little bit more about what's ahead for you, Scott had the opposite problem with power creep in the newest edition of ETU Universe. We roll it back. We go from university students who have cars and maybe a gun to middle school kids. So, sir, give us the breakdown of what is ETU Middle School. How did you approach it? Kind of what issues did you want to tackle in that setting? And then what's it going to be like playing modern kids on bikes? And then you have to, because I think this is the greatest mechanic I've heard of in the last 2 years or so, at least, the cell phone mechanic, which is just brilliant. I want to hear about it. So yeah, give us the scoop on the upcoming Pine Box Middle School.
Well, Pine Box Middle School. We definitely did not want to do another 80s kids on bikes thing. It's been done. It's been done a lot. And so when we first approached it, initially we were like, it's got to be set in present day. So that was definitely a bit of a challenge, because when you start to think about horror in present day, you do start to find out, you start to deal with things like you said, cell phones. How do you deal with cell phones? So we have come up with a way. I don't want to spoil it though, because I think it's kind of a fun thing that it's kind of a fun thing, because that is always the escape. Why didn't you just pick up your phone and call and get the police over here or whatever? Well, we've got things that'll happen, and it's not just weird supernatural influence. There's other stuff you have to take care of. And if you have a phone, you know some of those weird things you need to take care of. They're mun things, but they actually will impact your adventures. But yeah, so it's Pine Box. It's still the same old setting, but we have expanded it a little bit, and we've certainly looked at it from a child's point of view. And so the goal with this game was to not only give adults a chance to revisit their childhood by playing this game, where you can play middle school kids. I went into it really wanting to create a game that kids could play. Why not? So it kind of covers both bases really, really well. And it does expand the Pine Box mythology quite a bit, while still being directly connected to everything that you love and or are terrified of in the wonderful city of Pine Box.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to in a few days, we're going to start releasing, maybe as soon as tomorrow, if I got time tonight, the archetypes and the different archetypes that come with the basic set. And
love the archetype.
Right? I mean, like everyone loves it. But to me, like thinking of how do you make middle school kids cooler than college kids? And oh my God, you guys have done it. It is cool. I want to play multiple of these. And obviously Savage Worlds doesn't do, except for classes, cough, Pathfinder, doesn't lock into classes, right? But the iconic frameworks are not classes, sir. I know, right? Just don't tell Shane. Shane gets really sensitive about Savage Worlds and classes. Just that word. He's not a classes. So that's kind of the other thing too. Is like high school or the college version is you going to class is a cool meta mechanic. We don't do that in middle school. We replace it with families. So talk a little bit about that, like how that works out. So I think that's really kind of creative and fits the right age group too. So
Yeah, I mean, you have responsibilities to your family, to your siblings, and to your school. You also have to be very cautious about the kind of stuff, kind of trouble that you can get into. You know, when you're in college, you have the advantage of being able to hop in your car and drive off. Kids, not so much. There's definitely ways that you're going to have to deal with evil in Pine Box that is not going to just be blow the building up. There may be an exploding building in the end, but it's going to be a little bit more creative because kids have their own ways of dealing with that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's responsibilities outside of just classes. Obviously, that is a big framework there. But yeah, you have to think about all the other stuff that kids deal with on a regular basis. There are things that you have to do. Do you have to play sports? Are your parents going to put you in a sports program, in a school theater program? All those things are in play in Pine Box. Yeah, and just one other thing I wanted to throw out there was, I talked about how Flash, I was excited to do Flash because I was a Flash fan as a kid. I was excited to do this because I had been a kid. And there's so much in Pine Box Middle School that is from my own childhood. And I kid you not, obviously a lot of things have been fictionalized, but there are definitely little things. And down the line, I'd love to share some of those because I had a lot of weird stuff happen when I was growing up, and it had to find its way into the game and of course be embellished in weird and wild ways.
Yes,
So
fellow
now-
human, we
Right.
have all had childhoods. That is a truth we are all familiar with.
Speak
Oh,
for
yeah.
yourself, sir. I popped out with a beard and balding and big. I think my first words were "Get off my lawn." So yeah, childhood. No. Yeah. Well, now I know my first questions to ask Scott during. So we're gonna do. So we got Halloween coming up, and so it's a Halloween online convention. People ask like, what games you guys are gonna play. We're gonna approve a bunch of games, and we're gonna get panels on. So guys, keep your eyes out at tabletop events for Halloween 3 HOLLER. In honor. Oh, look at that background shift. That's cool. I haven't seen that art before, Mr. Roberson. So we're gonna do an online virtual convention end of the month. It's like the last weekend in October, and then as part of the Horror Companion Pine Box Middle School Kickstarter, which is also going to be going on again this month. We're going to do a ETU retrospective, and Mr. Woodard will be there. So now I know my first question. It's going to be, tell us what goodies from your childhood. What repressed traumas are we dealing with instead of therapy by putting it in an RPG game? Awesome on that.
We'll save those.
Right, but we're down an hour, and we'll go a little few minutes more. But as long as we got you, Scott, I want to throw out the question to you that outside of Savage Worlds and RPGs, and I know you have to at least tell us the cool stuff that your wife does too, because she's amazing. But so I want to pitch your book. So Scott is totally a Hollywood insider and wrote an amazing book. I picked it up, and actually it was entertaining, page cover to cover. It's called Cinema and Sorcery. Let me throw the link in the chat because we can do that. We have the technology. But this is an amazing book that just really, if you're a nerd like us and want to get a deep dive into all the cool ways our stuff has found its way into Hollywood, it's a great read. So pick that up. And then, so anyways, whatever you want to talk about, sir, but like what's fueling your fire these days? What cool things? Any podcasts, any foods? Outside of gaming and stuff, what's cool in the Woodard universe?
Like most of you, I'm watching all the same genre shows. So I'm watching House of the Dragon and Rings of Power and She-Hulk. And one of my favorite shows is Resident Alien. I don't know who else watches that, but God, I love that show. It's just hysterically funny.
It's supposed to be set in Colorado, too. Like Colorado is pretty, but not that pretty. It's like those are the Canadian Rockies that are much more dramatic. But yeah, love that show.
It's a great show. But yeah, so just I immerse myself in a lot of genre TV. Not too many podcasts. I do read, actually. I have time to read novels on occasion, so reading a lot of stuff, but most of the stuff I read is quite old. So and then I'll just toss it out there for those of you who don't know. My wife, she works on little shows like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and stuff. I'm representing, I don't know if you can see that there, but I got the crew shirt on right now. So that keeps me busy. That's about it. I mean, we got a couple of cats in the house that cause trouble, and I do a lot of excessive amounts of writing, and that's my life.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I was jealous to see that you got to go to London recently to go. Right?
Yeah, we went to London Film and Comic-Con a couple of months back. My wife was signing there, and I just got to tag along for a few days and buy some stuff and catch COVID.
Oh no! Nice little parting gift.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But it was the classier COVID. We got it from London. So.
It had a good accent on it. It was people found it more trustworthy in advertising.
Right.
Oh,
That's about it.
Awesome. So yes, we will have Scott back this month for the retrospective on ETU and all the good stuff for that campaign. So that's people. It's not Thursday. We are not launching a Kickstarter tomorrow.
Right.
So I might have mumble mouthed that earlier. It's in few days, not one day, not few hours. Maybe next Tuesday. We'll see. We got to get Kickstarter approval. So we will then let you know. Oh, so Scott also is the amazing dude who writes our newsletter. So all the cool sounding stuff. He makes all some of the boring stuff we do. Like, here's some fire releases. It sounds really exciting. So you guys actually go and download them. So yes, that's an amazing little bit of writing skill that I just certainly don't have. So we appreciate Scott for putting that together every Tuesday. So Roberson, what's cool in your world, sir? What is the so we had some snarky comments before. Rifts people are a little snarky. They wanted to know, when are you going to read you all the books, the 90 books you've already put out, and make a better PDFs? I'm like, are we not releasing a Kickstarter in a week almost? Do you really want us to go back and rehash 30-year-old stuff, or do you?
Well, I mean
people?
that is tricky. I saw that comment. It's interesting because when you have almost 300 products, and then they weren't laid out in InDesign, right? Or in some cases, if any Palladium fans have heard of things like the Crisis of Treachery, original art and other really important templates and stuff were stolen. So that sucks. And it's hard to put back together something that's not just a scan. It can be done. But right now, at least for Palladium, we're really focused on new releases and new content and new material. But if we get the chance, I would like to go back through a lot of the library, because I think some of this is a historical move, right? Are we preserving what we can of what's come before? As a huge Palladium fan since my youth, that's important to me as well. But yes, I'm in a similar boat. I am putting together stuff for Kickstarter, and we will be launching as soon as it can be ready. It out to the world. So keep your eyes open. Again, this is the cover for Titan Robotics. Again, I think that there's going to be some really neat stuff. It looks like I'm working on right now, open in InDesign on my computer. As I started this chat is a Titan Robotics card deck, poker deck. So we're going to be offering that along with some other Palladium books, poker decks. I think will be something that Savage Worlds fans, Savage Rifts fans will really enjoy, as well as Palladium fans. But Palladium system doesn't use a deck of cards as a core mechanic, so this really is me showing my love to hopefully you guys will like them, the Savage Rifts fans. And again, we're gonna. I don't want to talk about too much, right? And to promise things that we're still getting quotes from some printers and stuff, but we're gonna have something really cool for, I think, all kinds of Rifts fans, in addition to just the main core Titan Robotics book. So along with special collector's editions and foil stuff. So oh, hey, here you go. Hi, Shane. Hope you had fun at jury duty.
Don't watch it again later. We were talking about you, but you weren't here, and now don't, please. I might not have a job later. I think I mentioned how you were very sensitive about the word classes in Savage Worlds, and how him and him might just be skirting are there classes in Savage Worlds?
Well, the funny thing is I could do a whole video on this, because there's actually no classes. The iconic frameworks are great because you don't have the limitations of a class. You get to start off with a character concept, and then you can roll forward, and there might be iconic edges that you might be able to get. But it's really, I think it's a great way to play games, and to still set up those tropes and character types that are unique to certain settings, and have the versatility of the Savage Worlds character building system and advancement system. So anyways, but no, that'll be coming soon. I'm really excited again to be supporting both Savage Worlds, Savage Rifts players, and Palladium Rifts players. So check that out, and rock and roll.
There's so much on the plate. It's amazing just how much stuff that We got the huge Kickstarter for two very different products. You know, the box set with all the fun extras and pawns and good stuff, and then a whole new. I mean, we just delivered Atlantis, guys, and then we're going to give you South America. So yeah, I mean that's just on our side of the fence. Plus the type
And
of
a whole new pawn
products,
set. Yep.
and like the Rifter. There's a brand new Rifter that just came out. So
Rifter 85, Rifter 86 submissions are in. It's in process as well. So.
Oh, look, John too mentioned Shane. That's right. The cool folks at Savage Interludes had like a mini con in Tucson this weekend. So that's cool. Not to mention that, and, you know, Shane does exist in real life. We had there were some doubts every once in a while. I mean, he says he's doing jury duty, but I think it's just a vacation. I think he's just downtown having some fun, and he posts pictures of a building and says he's doing jury duty. I don't believe him. It would be fun though to see Shane on like I guarantee he's going to be the foreman. I guarantee. Like I will put money down right now that when it comes to the deliberation, like no one's going to beat Shane out for foreman. And I'll put even money down that it's going to be guilty. I have no idea the case, but I mean guilty that's where I'm feeling guilty. I don't feel guilty. I'm feeling that yes, I have no guilt. I have no shame. So question to you, the same open-ended one, like what else besides RPGs and all the good stuff? What else is floating your boat in the real world? Any good stuff you want to share with the audience?
Let's see. I got a new writing buddy called
Not
Tad
you,
Cooper.
Mike. You can't talk yet. I was still talking to the cooler guy below you, Mr. Blush.
Oh,
you
man.
wait I'm going to mute your mic. You wait your turn.
Aw.
So, Sean, person whose name is Sean.
Right now, I don't really have a life because I'm doing.
I'm just running two different
Savage Rifts
publishing
and-
enterprises.
But no, I mean, I was a China analyst in the Air Force. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the world right now. There's also a lot of new cool guns. I you know, again, military, I guess, but I like guns and technology and stuff like that. The U.S. Army, right, is replacing a lot of battle rifles and pistols, and so that's kind of interesting on my end, as well as like light armored vehicles. I get into that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's
no wonder you signed on to Rifts, man, because if there's a RPG that has equipment lists, it's Rifts, right?
Right.
Like that.
Well, especially
that's
Savage Rifts,
go.
because we need to bring as much in as we can. That's the mandate, right? But yes, I mean, like for instance, Atlantis and the Demon Seas, if you haven't picked it up, has as much equipment as the original Tomorrow Legion Player's Guide. And South America, I don't think is going to be an exception there either. But yeah, no, that's my main focus right now. Not doing
just
a lot
doom scrolling about possible World War III in real life. So I guess that's why we do RPGs, right? It's so much more fun to like play World War III post-apocalyptic than it is to live it. So I hope we don't need any of the new military equipment, but I do want our guys to be prepared just in case.
Right.
You know?
I also have been slow burning on a Rifts novel. We'll see when I might ever get the chance to really focus on that the way it needs to be focused on. But
Rifts fiction,
yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. I'm glad that you're putting on more. Like, I mean, it is a different hat, right? I mean, between writer and game writer, I mean, they are totally different skill sets as far as. I mean, yeah.
Well, and running,
but
making decisions for the company and the everyday. There's a lot of stuff. Yep.
Well, I hope you write a good book and it'll be a movie, and then we'll finally get the Rifts movie.
I would be excited about that as well.
So we have video games for Pathfinder, no movies yet, but okay, Mike.
I also like guns. I don't know. Man, I don't want to go after that. His is way cooler. No, I got a new writing partner. His name is Tad Cooper. Bonus points to anybody who knows what that's from and can guess what he is. I'm sure it's really obscure. Anybody. So no, it's been a lot of writing. As I announced recently, I started working on the Sci-Fi Companion. This does not mean
wait. Did you just mention the crowd is going to go wild? I mean, I have to put out the fires. Everyone is like, when is the Sci-Fi Companion coming out? When is the Sci-Fi? And like, guys, it's going to be like the last one. Calm down.
No, so I've been doing a lot of reading. I think I'm now referencing 6 existing Suede or Savage Worlds books, including Flash Gordon is another one I'm taking a look at. There is there's just a lot to it. There's already been some awesome hands in it. Sean has put some work in there. Daryl has put work in there. There's a lot of really good stuff, and so I'm just hoping to contribute and make something super epic. As anybody can who's on the forums can already see, I'm not stopping Savage Pathfinder at all. I just answered some questions on feedback today. So that's still going 100%. Nobody have a heart attack on that. But yeah, this is just a separate part where we're super excited.
But sci-fi is the tough one, right? Because unlike even say martial arts companion or whatever companion, there are several Savage World sci-fi settings that are very different in tone. I mean, we have 2 space settings that go very different directions.
And if I just throw in for a second, that's part of the reason why Shane asked me to get involved, is to make sure that the power armor rules, the body armor, the guns, the ships, it all matches the work that I did for the Suede vehicle guide. And also it's going to mean that the sci-fi companion and riffs play together very, very well.
Yeah,
so I think people are really going to enjoy that.
You won't be playing riffs when you use the sci-fi companion, right? But you will be able to use the sci-fi companion when you play riffs.
Right.
It's a very important thing, and I
or use riffs monsters while you're playing with the sci-fi companion.
There we go. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. I love sci-fi. Oh my gosh, John. And so, I recently, we had a meeting today, we did our rules meetings, one of them, and I was throwing out all the stuff I'd been working on. And it's amusing because I'll reference things that, are I don't think obscure that other people watch, or Daryl and I will start geeking out over Farscape. How do we replicate this kind of story that we want to play? How do we replicate this trope? I'm like, oh, well, what if I want to play an ex-Borg or ex-Zerg, right? Like, because those I think are very common tropes that people will want to be able to do. So we got to sit down and, put in the effort, right? Make sure that, when you grab this sci-fi companion, you're not going to think of the one show, book, or video game that I didn't think of. We'll see if I can find a way to work the asteroid game into the sci-fi companion.
Galaga, oh my god, rules for Galaga, because we need the 80s throwback. I mean, that's the really. I mean, I'm amazed that again, all of your fingers are going to be touching the sci-fi companion just because of the awesome work you've already done that has to be taken into account since the last time we did some sci-fi companions.
Yep, I got to play test this Sunday, even, right? Like I'm.
Oh wait, we're already in play testing. Woo!
Yes.
Wow, that's good. That's good. But now they're going to ask when's the Kickstarter, and it's like it's not Q1, people. It might not even be next year. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to roll through. So, okay. So besides watching Gallivant, what other cool stuff outside of RPG mastering are you doing, sir?
Gallivant is fantastic. No, honestly, it's mostly writing and reading right now. I was not kidding when I said I'm referencing like 6 books, right? Like I'm making sure we're up with Super's companion, with the fantasy companion, anything that needs to match. We've got, Flash Gordon. We want to, make sure that you can look at it and reference The Last Parsec. There is another one.
Look, water is leaking from her eyes. Oh.
It's what they call tears. It's a sign of their weakness.
Sorry, I had to get that in, and there was no other place to put it.
That's totally fair. I've talked to again Daryl recently, where he brought up an older pre-Suede sci-fi book, where it's not necessarily we're gonna use everything that's in there, but it's important to keep in mind, right? So like for Savage Pathfinder, I had a plethora of books that I own or have played through or whatever that I could lean on and say, okay, this is what we need to be able to accomplish, right? When we do the next books for Savage Pathfinder, we'll have those books as reference. And so while it's a little bit more freeing to not have to say, I want the Oracle to be able to do this, but Pathfinder doesn't do it, so I have to nix that. I also have to look at it and say, you have to be able to do, these different things. And so, yeah, it's a lot of reading, a lot of research, and I love it. That keeps me going. So RPGs, reading, and working.
Well, that's enough. And you're Mr. Social Butterfly, because I promised I'd get you out of here 5 minutes ago for your next engagement. I guess I lied. So
Yeah, I have Blood Bowl tonight.
Blood Bowl. Oh, God. Whatever invites me to this fun stuff. So you guys can all go back to your wonderful lives, and I will go back to making videos for Peg. Guys, thank you for watching our Fast, Furious, Fun Fall Features, number 3, with the amazing licensed developers. They're an amazing team. And we've got good stuff from all 3 of them coming to your Kickstarter door maybe next week as soon as. And then throughout like the early part of next year, more good stuff from all these guys. And we'll be back Thursdays through the rest of the fall for some awesome Peg interviews. And then I think all 3 of these guys, we'll see them during Halloween at the end of the month. So it won't be too long before they all will be spreading the joy and love of Savage Worlds. So buy Scott's books and then buy their books too with peginc.com. And other than that, we're going to go right to our amazing outro, which some brilliant, very talented dude put together. I just don't know who.
Don't hurt your arm.
Right? I know. Hey, do we have workman's comp here, Peg? Shane, do we have Aflac? Are we covered? Anyways, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank all of you guys for joining us. Take it easy, and we'll see you at Halloween.